Good morning. Today is Thursday, October 30th. I'm going to be reading from the New Bedford Standard Times. My name is Susan. First, we'll start with the weather. Today will be mostly cloudy, windy, with afternoon rain, a high of 60 and a low of 54. Friday will be, an afternoon shower possible, high of 59, low of 46. Saturday will be breezy in the morning with sunshine, high 56, low of 37. And Sunday will be partly sunny, high of 54, low of 33. I will begin with the front page. The first story is Pace Head Start is in danger of closing. The group is looking for temporary solutions for children enrolled in their programs. New Bedford. If the federal government shutdown that began October 1st persists beyond October 31st, families of children enrolled in Head Start preschool programs, as well as early Head Start for infants and toddlers, will have to find their own transportation to and from child care facilities as busing ceases, the Standard Times has learned. And if the government shutdown continues much longer beyond that, the programs themselves might cease altogether, according to PACE Head Start Director Jill Fox. As of November 1st, we will not have our federal funding, Fox said during a phone call on Monday, October 27th, noting families, many of whom have no vehicle, were informed of the potential busing loss the week prior. We'll have transportation through Friday, then as of Monday, no more busing. If the loss of busing does come to fruition, Fox says Pace's busing contract may freeze for a little while. Hopefully we can resume it when the funding reopens, Fox said. According to Fox, Pace is being as proactive as possible in helping families prepare for service disruptions, which, at least in the short term, may include forming carpools to get children to facilities when or if busing is lost. We have some really wonderful family service advocates, and so they'll work with each family to see if they can help them come up with a plan, Fox said. When it comes to how long Head Start program from PACE, New Bedford's lone Head Start provider, according to Fox, will be able to stay open at all after November 1st, Fox says it could be less than a month. The state is allowing us some flexibility in one of our state grants, so we're going to be able to use our state funding to operate, but it'll only buy us a few weeks, Fox said. Around 90% of PACE's Head Start funding is federal. We're prioritizing staying open, so we're focusing on our staff salaries and the fringe costs. Headline, even worse for PACE families, potential loss of SNAP benefits. According to Fox, between Head Start and Early Head Start, PACE services about 200 families, many of whom already have other worries mounting among the continuing government shutdown. Far from the least of those is the potential loss of SNAP benefits, food stamps, which is another distinct possibility should the shutdown go on through November 1st. We're worried for our families. 100% of our families are low income, so they are going to be impacted by the SNAP benefits being lost, Fox said. Our families need that, and without SNAP, our children can have some real food insecurities. According to Fox, PACE's full federal grant for Head Start and Early Head Start program amounts to $4,143,010, more than 80% of which goes to salaries and benefits for 63 employees, some of whom have been at their jobs for 30 years. They've made careers out of this job. They're well paid and have excellent benefits, Fox said, describing PACE's Head Start employees as highly qualified. Some have spent their entire careers here, she said. But with the government shutdown still having no sure end in sight, Fox said employees are nervous and wondering whether or not they should be looking for another job. As of Monday, those fears had led to the loss of one PACE Head Start worker, Fox said. And we're close to the holidays, Fox added. We're trying to stay optimistic and have a positive message to all of our staff, but they have to take care of their families. PACE, which serves Greater New Bedford, is one Head Start provider of 6 in Massachusetts that normally receive their funding grants November 1st, according to Fox and Mass Head Start Association Executive Director Michelle Heimowitz. Aside from PACE, 2 others are Community Teamwork Incorporated in Lowell and Holyoke Chicopee Springfield Head Start, which serves those 3 communities, Heimowitz said. The other 2 November 1st grantees prefer to stay out of the press regarding the government shutdown, due at least in part, Heimowitz said, to potential retribution. According to a press release from Mass Head Start Association, more than 10,000 Massachusetts children are enrolled in Head Start programming. The 6 programs set to receive funds on November 1st serve 2,830 children, the release reads. According to the release, Mass Head Start programs will maintain every effort to remain open as long as possible, using non-federal funding, including the Head Start Supplemental Grants and Commonwealth Cares for Children, C3 grants. Our programs are doing everything they can do to juggle things and remain open if possible, Heimowitz said during a phone call on Monday. The funds that they're used to doing so are not intended to be operational dollars, and they absolutely won't last forever. If the government shutdown lasts beyond December 1st, some Head Start providers around the United States that weren't affected as of November 1st, or a prior grant round that was set for October 1st, will be affected, Fox explained. According to Heimowitz, no Massachusetts Head Start providers were affected by the missed round October 1st grants. We will continue to be in close contact with state and federal partners, and we encourage our partners to do the same, Mass Head Start Association's release reads. Together we must advocate for swift action that fully restores government operations and supports essential services like Head Start. According to information from HeadStart.gov, the next closest Head Start provider to Greater New Bedford is Citizens for Citizens Incorporated, running out of multiple locations in Fall River. Citizens for Citizens Director of Children's Services, Pamela Wildnauer, said via phone call on Monday that her organization, as a May 1st grantee, is unaffected by the federal shutdown, at least for now. We'd like to offer our support for programs that are November 1st grantees. We're really advocating for them, Wildnauer said, noting that in addition to education and child care, Head Start provides nutrition, health screenings, and mental health service. The next story is Dartmouth man pleads guilty to killing a girlfriend. Fall River. Tyler Dow Baglini will serve a life sentence for second-degree murder with parole eligibility in 25 years for the murder of 31-year-old Carrie Fidalgo, whose grieving family and friends filled the courtroom. The sentence had been agreed upon by prosecutors and the defense and was affirmed by Judge Rafi Yesayan during the October 28th hearing in Bristol County Superior Court in Fall River. Assistant Bristol County District Attorney Karen L. Sullivan said Fidalgo had been stabbed and cut 14 times to the neck, head, and torso. There were wounds to her hands consistent with attempts to defend herself. Baglini, 32, of Dartmouth, who has a history of mental illness, said he understood the ramifications of his guilty plea. Asked if he knew why he was in court, he answered, for the murder of Carrie Fidalgo. Fidalgo worked in the probation department at New Bedford District Court. She also worked a second job at night with her father at a residential management company as a caretaker. Prosecutors said Baglini arrived at St. Luke's Hospital at 4:48 p.m. on September 20th, 2024, after he had stabbed Fidalgo and brought with him the kitchen knife that was the murder weapon. Hospital personnel notified police that Baglini was claiming his girlfriend had been stabbed to death at her 86 Atlantic Street residence. She lived at 8486 Atlantic Street with her parents and sisters. Police went to the residence but were told everything was fine until her older sister found Fidalgo's body in her apartment, stabbed multiple times, clad in a gray T-shirt. She was transported to St. Luke's, where she was pronounced dead. Baglini was initially held at St. Luke's for observation. Baglini had been creating a disturbance at the hospital, screaming and refusing to take medication. The knife he brought was stained with blood. He told police that a serial killer had killed his girlfriend. There was also dried blood on his face. He also said a serial killer wanted to kill him too, and that he ran to the hospital after he saw another serial killer, according to the police report. Fidalgo usually got home from work at the courthouse after 4:30 p.m. She would then change clothes and go to work with her father at a residential management company as a caretaker, according to the police report. Fidalgo and Baglini had attended high school together. Baglini started talking with her again after he had been released from jail in June. According to the police investigation, Fidalgo was unhappy taking care of Baglini following his release, including clothing and feeding him, and that he was apt to get angry and yell if Fidalgo didn't pay enough attention to him. Police viewed text messages on Fidalgo's phone from Thursday, September 19th to Friday, September 20th, in which Baglini seems paranoid and threatens to kill himself. Fidalgo told Baglini he was acting paranoid and hyperfixating, and she tried to rationalize with him. She told him he needed to get help and to take his medication. She said she would visit him at the hospital as she did in the past. Her last message was sent September 20th, the day she was killed. It stated, "Tyler, we can talk later, after you get checked out. You need help. You need to get better. You're having an episode and you're paranoid. Everything will be okay, but you need help. I love you. I care about you. Please." He responded, "Goodbye. I really loved you and I forgive you. Time to go to hell. You were the best thing that ever happened to me." Baglini went to St. Luke's at 12:39 p.m. that day, but left at 12:53. Later that day at 3:41 p.m., Baglini sent her a photo of the kitchen knife that became the murder weapon. He returned to St. Luke's at 4:48 p.m. after the murder, saying Fidalgo had been stabbed by a serial killer. Carrie's mother, Melissa Fidalgo, and her three sisters, Kayla Whalen, Jacqueline Fidalgo, and Giselle Fidalgo, provided victim statements to the court. All spoke through tears. Yasayan ordered Baglini to stand while they addressed the court. He had been sitting in the rear of the prisoner's dock. Melissa Fidalgo said, "I stand here today not because I want to, but because I have to. My daughter's life was taken from her in a way no mother should ever have to endure." Melissa said she was vibrant, loving, and full of life. Her laughter could brighten any room, and her energy could lift anyone's spirits. Carrie cared deeply about others and always went out of her way to help everyone, family, friends, and even strangers, Melissa said. Melissa said Carrie had dreams and goals. "I was so proud of the woman she was becoming. But instead of celebrating her future with her, I found myself planning her funeral." She said, "The image of my baby girl lying there, covered in her own blood, that will never leave me." Kayla Whalen, Carrie's oldest sister, found her body after police arrived for a wellness check based on Baglini's statement at the hospital about a stabbing. She ran down to Carrie's basement apartment. "I had no idea what I was about to walk into. I didn't know I would find my sister lying on her living room floor, motionless, surrounded by her own blood, and her hands were up by her face like she was trying to protect herself." Here, Kayla had to stop to collect herself. She then said there were deep, violent stab wounds along her sides, her eyes wide open, staring, an image that will haunt me for the rest of my life. No one should ever have to find someone they love like that. While a police officer performed CPR, Kayla said she dropped to her knees in the kitchen, begging God to save her life. "My sister was only 31 years old. She was so full of life and the kindest, most generous person. She had her whole life ahead of her, dreams and goals," Kayla said. Kayla's two children, who were 5 and 12, have to live with losing their beloved aunt, she said. Carrie mattered. Her life mattered. She was loved beyond words. Jacqueline Fidalgo said they were the middle sisters and very close. They shared everything. The day she was killed, Jacqueline sent her a message with a picture of a dress she was going to wear to a wedding they were attending the next week. She wore the dress the next week, standing beside Carrie's casket, she said. "She was my sister, my best friend. She was the one I called first for everything. Jacqueline added that Carrie was a champion for those less fortunate, and her work at the court allowed her to help others. No one had shown up in the court to support Baglini, she said. The one person who would have had the compassion to do so would have been Carrie, she added. Giselle, her youngest sister, said, she was my role model, my biggest supporter, my best friend. Whenever I needed advice or comfort, she was the person I called. She made me feel safe. She said Carrie was beautiful, strong, compassionate, and brave. I miss her every day, Your Honor. I miss her laugh. I miss our talks. I miss the way she made everything better. She should still be here. The next story is entitled New Bedford, one of 192 districts affected by AI error in MCAS scoring. New Bedford Public Schools was one of 192 Massachusetts school districts where students' spring 2025 MCAS scores were affected by an artificial intelligence error over the summer, according to the Mass Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. The agency reports scores were adjusted before they were made public this fall. Following the release of V2 data and essays for the MCAS ELA tests, additional scoring checks were completed that resulted in updates to essay scores for a small number of students across the states in grades 3 to 8, reads an email sent out to New Bedford Public Schools administrators from the MCAS Service Center dated August 6th. All updated scores are higher than the previously released preliminary scores. No student scores in high school were affected, and no student scores were lowered because of the changes. V2, according to DESE, connotes scaled scores and provisional achievement levels. We apologize for the inconvenience this may have caused, the email continues, offering an email address for any questions with the Cognia domain name, Cognia being a nonprofit contracted by the state to help facilitate MCAS scoring. According to a May 2024 release from DESE, AI-based scoring, or automated computer scoring, as DESE calls it, has been used to score ELA English Language Arts MCAS essays for grades 3 to 8 since 2019. While district communications staff did provide the email that informed administrators of the error, NBPS did not respond to inquiry of how many New Bedford students were affected by the error in time for publishing. In total, 1,400 scores were affected statewide, a DES spokesperson said, noting only 1 to 2 students from each of the 192 affected districts were impacted. According to the DESE spokesperson, the glitch made it so approximately 1,400 essays initially went unscored. Out of about 750,000 essays total, the unscored essays made up less than 0.2%, the spokesperson said. The error was discovered over the summer, according to DESE, during the review period for preliminary scores, during which those scores are inspected for discrepancies. According to the May 2024 release from DESE, scoring of the MCAS tests administered in spring 2024 used automated scoring alongside human scoring. For ELA essays in grades 3 to 8, automated computer scoring will provide a first score. Trained human scorers will provide the read-behind score on 10% of all responses, the release reads. ELA essays in grade 10 receive 2 scores. In spring 2024, one of those scores will be provided by automated computer scoring, and one of those scores will be provided by a trained human scorer. Automated computer scoring relies heavily on human scorers, the release continues. Initially, trained human scorers assign scores to the thousands of student essay responses. These human-scored essays are input into the automated scoring system, and the system is tested with additional human-scored essays. If the automated computer system is unable to score an essay, the essay is routed to a human scorer to provide a score. To see MCAS scores and accountability data for New Bedford Public Schools or any Massachusetts school district that administers MCAS, visit profiles.doe.mass.edu and enter a district's name in the search field. To see MCAS scores and accountability data for New Bedford Public Schools or any Mass school district that administers MCAS, visit profiles.doe.mass.edu and enter a district's name in the search field. And now I'll read today's death notices. The first is for Ayers Gonzalez, age 83, of New Bedford, Mass., passed on October 27th. The arrangements are handled by Saunders Dwyer Home for Funerals. The service time will be November 3rd at 10 a.m. at the Holy Name of the Sacred Heart of Jesus Church, and the interment will be at St. Mary's Cemetery. The next is Santos Gonzalez, age 66, of Quakertown, Pennsylvania, passed October 25th. Arrangements are handled by Mankrowski Funeral Home. The service will be October 31st, 11 a.m. Service location is Mankowski Funeral Home, and the interment will be at Sacred Heart Cemetery.
This is a reminder that this is the New Bedford Standard Times for Thursday, October 30th. Back to our stories. Bank 5 VP Andrea Rodriguez joined United Way board by David DeMille. Andrea Rodriguez, first Vice President and Director of Marketing Programs and Community Relations at Bank 5, has been appointed to the Board of Directors for the United Way of Greater New Bedford, according to a community announcement. Rodriguez has more than 20 years of experience in marketing and communications with a background in brand management and corporate philanthropy. Her appointment follows years of volunteer service with the organization, including roles as a Loaned Executive Campaign Cabinet Member and Women United Leader, according to the announcement. We're thrilled to welcome Andrea to our Board of Directors. Michelle N. Hotman, President and CEO of United Way of Greater New Bedford, said she's supported countless events and initiatives over the years, both personally and professionally. At Bank 5, Rodriguez leads a team focused on community partnerships and marketing initiatives that align with both business and civic goals. Her involvement with the United Way began in 2009 and includes volunteer work with programs such as Hunger Heroes, Mobile Market, Baby Bundles, and Financial Wellness for Women workshops. I'm honored to join the board of United Way of Greater New Bedford and to contribute to an organization that plays such a vital role in supporting our local community. Rodriguez also serves on the scholarship committee of the South Coast Community Foundation and has held roles with Leadership South Coast, the UMass Dartmouth Center for Marketing Research, and People's Incorporated's Investing Together Capital campaign. The next story, Adobe reworks its apps for AI assistance, by Stephen Nellis, Reuters, San Francisco. Adobe said on October 28th its video and image editing tools can be controlled by chatting with them, adding that it is working with ChatGPT creator OpenAI to let users directly control one of its apps with the popular chatbox service. Adobe is the creator of Photoshop and Premiere, widely used tools in the photography and film industries. In 2023, it rolled out Firefly, a service for generating images and other content with text prompts. On October 28th, Adobe executives said the company overhauled its apps to work with artificial intelligence assistants that can create and edit content by having a conversation. Behind the scenes, multiple AI agents would tap buttons and move sliders in the app to make those changes happen, similar to how a human assistant would carry out requests. But human users will still also be able to take hold of those sliders and buttons to make edits rather than relying solely on a text chat. Now that Adobe has revamped its apps to work with AI assistants, it can more easily integrate them with third-party services, said Eli Greenfield, Adobe's Chief Technology Officer for its digital media business. The company is working to integrate its Adobe Express app with OpenAI's ChatGPT, which will let users start a conversation in the chat box to start a project there. It can then be edited in ChatGPT to finish in Adobe's apps. You can adjust the edits that the agent in ChatGPT is making so you can do a little bit of direct manipulation there, Greenfield said. Clerks warn of outdated voting systems, seek $400 million in support, by David DeMille, The Standard Times. Freetown clerk Cheryl Estrella joined more than 80 election officials in Washington, D.C. on September 30th to urge Congress to approve $400 million in federal funding for secure and efficient elections, according to a community announcement. Estrella was part of a Massachusetts delegation that included clerks from Brookline, Easton, Everett, Hardwick, Hopkinton, Lexington, Nantucket, and Northborough. The group met with lawmakers and staff as government shutdown loomed, pressing concerns about outdated voting equipment, staffing shortages, cybersecurity threats, and security at polling places. Election laws and voting options have evolved dramatically in recent years, from mail-in voting to online portals and early voting, and that's greatly expanded the responsibilities of local election offices. Clerks continue to go above and beyond to ensure every election is safe and transparent, but ongoing federal support is critical to help us keep pace and maintain that level of service. Congress previously approved significant election infrastructure funding, $380 million in 2018, $425 million in 2020, and $400 million through the CARES Act during the pandemic. That $825 million marked the largest federal investment in nearly 2 decades. Recent allocations have dropped sharply, $75 million in fiscal 2023, $55 million in 2024, and just $15 million in March of 2025, continuing resolution according to the announcement. The current level of funding is far below what's needed to meet the demands of today's elections. Municipalities are continually asked to do more with less each year, upgrade outdated equipment, maintain sufficient staffing, and protect both voters and workers with fewer resources. The trip was sponsored by the Project for Election Infrastructure, a nonpartisan group led by local election officials and partners working to ensure secure, reliable elections. We've reached the end of our reading today of the New Bedford Standard Times, dated Thursday, October 30th. Have a great day.